There's something about the Skype ringtone, at least on Mac. It's still the same on Mac. On Windows, it's different now, finally, thankfully. But there's something about the Skype ringtone that is just, it like bubbles up all the anxiety in me in like a really bad way.
It's like I don't know if in your extended family this happens, but like certain people who sort of like are afraid of a technology, fearful, hate it, don't want to use it, never going to touch it. Then all of a sudden they try it and it's like now everything is that funneled through that thing. And so like texting for my parents, my mom in particular went that way where it was like, no, I would just phone. Why would I, et cetera. And then all of a sudden it went from nothing to like now everything to the point of like, your aunt has cancer, by the way. Oh, and I'm going to drop off some cookies after school. Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, well, I would say the phone is like that for me. Because it's always been, I mean, I guess my parents do text me. They do say like, hey, the dog passed away, like through text, which is just, oh, okay.
15 years of my life. I'll just process right now.
Yeah. It would be difficult to say that over the phone. I get it, but because they have moved over to texting for things that are unimportant, seemingly unimportant, when they do call, it's like, oh no, what happened? What?
This is the one,
right? Who got in a car accident? Like, do I need to? I'm ready to run to the car now with the keys, put my seatbelt on, and then answer the call. Like that's the level of anxiety that getting a phone call now puts on me. I mean, plus
you're booking the flight as you answer the phone. Hi, Mom. I've got a good deal on a flight. I'll be there.
Yes. If this then that right. For when your parents call you and you know that you need to just book one ASAP. Book the.
There's got to be.
There needs to be a zap for that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Speaking of phone, man, when was that? Tuesday. I've been off and on with my dentist, which is just, it feels like it's been nonstop for the last year or so with them. Like every 2 months.
Relationship status you're off and on?
Yes, that's what it feels like. Because when they call, I'm like pit in my stomach. Like, I know this is supposed to be good. I know I'm supposed to just confirm my dentist appointment with you and then see you next week. But do we have to do this now? Do we have to? I don't want to do this. And so this week, they've been trying real hard to basically get everything out of me that they can. So they've taken all 4 wisdom teeth over the last year or so. And I'm still having issues here. I had rice for lunch, which is good. It was fine. But there's a socket still formed back there.
Yeah.
And it's just small enough for a little grain of rice. So I swish as frequently as possible.
That's from your molar or wisdom teeth removal?
Yeah.
Just somebody saying socket just gives me the shivers.
Usually comes with a dry and or infected. So yeah, no, all bad words, all bad terms. But so they keep calling me and they're like, man, okay, so we've taken out your teeth. We've cleaned you twice, probably 3 times now. Anyway, so they did all that good stuff. .fm. It was like, okay, cool. Now we're pretty much done, right? And they're like, no, well, so we could fit you with these orthodontics if you'd like the Invisalign stuff. And you don't like the way your teeth look, right? You got this weird maw going. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in Orange County. I'm obviously a movie star. It definitely matters what my teeth look like behind this microphone.
Is that that's the OC, right? That's the show you're in?
So yeah, yes, that's exactly it. I'm basically on the OC 24/7. That's what it's like down here. I'm driving a Porsche and the sun and the palm trees and everything. It is really sunny here today. I won't tell you how warm it is, and so they're trying to get me to do these orthodontics, and it comes out to nearly $7,000 American because, one, I don't have coverage for that. And I'm sure it's way, way, way worse for people who have multiple kids and 2 who don't have coverage for that kind of thing, or don't have coverage, period. And they're like, well, if you don't do anything about this, your child won't be able to close their mouth in 5 years or whatever, as these teeth come in and stuff. And I get that.
Yeah, the struggle of parenting.
Yeah, right. Way worse than I will probably ever have it. And I have a good job and everything's fine. I don't have any children's teeth to take care of.
Just the teeth.
So, just my own. Yeah, just
Futurama style.
My own mouth, basically. Right. Yeah. So they're trying to get me to. Oh, hey, lights are turning on here. They're trying to get me to pay off this so that they can get back in my mouth and do some work, do some development, you know?
It's sounding like an apartment development that we're debating.
That's what I feel like. I feel like they're moving in and they're ripping out all the carpets and they're trying to get back in my mouth, basically, and up the rent so that they can, I don't know, make more profit off me. I don't know. This week, I have been avoiding going back in, and they kept calling, and I kept calling them and saying, look, I'm not going to come in. I don't want to do this. I saw the amount. I don't want to do this anymore. And Tuesday, I call them and say, officially, don't want to do this anymore. Not going to do this. And I'm like, well, no. We still want to see you. We still want you to come in, you know, so that it's like, why? Why prolong this relationship? And so the beauty of Android, I just blocked their number, unfortunately.
Nice.
Speaking of phones, speaking of not wanting to use phones anymore, I just blocked them. And now I feel kind of bad, but I'm trying not to feel too bad, because you can go anywhere. It's not like you have to go to these people to get work done or get your teeth cleaned, but I just don't feel like being used anymore, you know? That's the kind of thing that phones make me feel. They make me feel like I'm being pressured. It's only bad stuff happening. It's never good stuff.
.fm
over the phone. The .fm over the phone. It's only over Skype. And so maybe that's what I'm getting at, is Skype is just that real good feeling now.
That was a good 10-minute explanation of why you hate the Skype ringtone.
Well, as I was talking, I'm trying to delay, trying to wait to see what happens here with my front door. I'm staring at it right now because I have a little, speaking of if this then that, I have a little if recipe for when my wife comes home.
My wife?
And my wife comes home and it turns on all the lights in the house when she is in a specific geo radius or whatever. I guess I could just check on my phone right now, but and so I'm waiting for her to walk through the door and wonder what I'm doing and who I'm yelling at about my teeth. And it's just not happening yet.
I have those. I do those sometimes with like the Apple thing, the Find My Friends thing, when I know I'm like wondering when someone's going to come home or whatever, and so I do that. But it's kind of like it works 90% of the time, and then 10% of the time it's like the next day all of a sudden it notifies me that my wife's come home or whatever, when she's obviously been home for 24 hours
for 3 days. Yeah.
So it's almost enough that it's almost like it works reliably enough to trust it, but it's still not quite there. Not that I'm ever, I guess, dependent on somebody on the geolocation notification of somebody's arrival or leaving, but I do use it for like when to start making something for supper or when to start some sort of thing. Nothing life dependent, obviously. Nothing like getting dry sockets pulled out of your teeth.
Right.
But
that's my number one thing, though. The whole like trying to plan dinner around when someone is arriving so that it's hot and that it's, you know, not been sitting in the fridge for 3 hours because you couldn't time it properly or whatever. That's my number one reason for using it. I guess my parents like to use it too. It's a good like 6 to 7 hours traveling from where I am in Southern California to basically where they are, where their house is. And so instead of having to reach over to my phone and say, yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere, fields and cows, and, you know, we still have 3 hours and 45 minutes left. They're able to just pull it up on Find My Friends and see where we are, which is nice. It avoids having a conversation over the phone So the more times we can do that, the better for me.
Do you have one of, I don't know what it's, for me, it's my in-laws, but who are savvy. They're both savvy to using that technology, the Find My Friends part. But then they also kind of like randomly, I have it set so that they can just see where I am all the time. Generally, I don't care, whatever. But so then randomly I'll get a text when I'm like out with somebody at a bar or whatever, and just like my father-in-law is like, "Hey, what are you doing at wherever?" Like he's actively looking, he's just bored on a Thursday night, wondering why I'm at Walmart. Or
is it to say like, "Hey, pick me up some toilet paper"?
No,
maybe?
Nothing even. It's I picture him being useful. Just bored at home and kind of like, "Hey, I wonder where people are."
Where are people? Yeah. You can set up. I think the funny part is you can set up geofences for Find My Friends and say like, "Hey, notify me when so and so leaves a particular area and then comes to this other area," or however you want to set it up. I would be curious if anything like that is set up for you. Like I've basically geotagged all the bars in the area to see when Chris enters one and when he leaves one. Period.
I don't have an issue. I don't have a problem.
Right? Sure.
There's anything wrong with people who do, but hey, you're the one who works at a place that tracks drinking beer. That's
right. I will say you are in my bookmarks here, so I will see every now and then. The freaky part is I do have notifications turned on for when you check in, so maybe that's not...
You're the one who's stalking.
Maybe that is... I know. That is a little strange. Man, I didn't think this would turn into a potential episode about notifications, but it seems as though folks have their distinct personal opinions about whether or not they have notifications on, what they have notifications for. The whole Find My Friends thing, I find people falling into two camps. One believes, like, yes, it's utilitarian. There is some usefulness for this, like you and I have explained. And two, people say it's creepy,
right?
And they don't ever want to do that ever again.
Yeah, because I guess it's ironic. I guess for my father-in-law, for example, where he's afraid to use, not afraid, but he's just, I think, almost legitimately fearful of giving his credit card information out or whatever online. And that's a valid thing to be, concerned about. But then will happily share his location sometimes or whatever. And so it's kind of like, and for all of us, I think we don't really fully grasp how much information a given app or a given operating system or a given cloud thingy has about us at any given time, and are probably blissfully, naively unaware of what actually is stored about us in the cloud.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
I think the notification thing, though, is interesting because it's a thing where you, by default, if you just say yes to everything, I have to imagine that even the most basic user of a phone, even if you're not on Instagram and Twitter and getting whatever dinged by all that stuff, but just like the average use, maybe you're on Facebook and you have texting and maybe some other communication tool that your family, Telegram or whatever, some other app that somebody in your family wants you to use. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think, maybe like a weather thing. Just the most basic sort of use of a mobile smartphone, you're still getting so many notifications if you say yes to everything, which I feel like, at least in certain circles around me, there are people who are like that, not just older, like my younger sisters, I think, are similar, where they just like, yeah, whatever, yeah, sure, have access to it all, send me stuff. And I don't blame them. I don't think they're dumb because they do that, but it's just kind of like, if you're not sort of aware of what you're doing or aware of how much control you're giving these things over your attention, then it just becomes, and so I'm in the camp of like next to no notifications unless it's critical. Like texting for me is a notification, business email account is a notification, and then when the Penguins score a goal, that's for my kids. So.
Oh man, that must have taken last night.
Yeah, last night.
that must have been not very good for you.
Well, I had to, for folks who aren't, depending on when you listen to this, but last night was game 3. They lost 5-1. So I forget what we were doing, putting the kids to bed and stuff. And I was like, I don't think there's a game on because I haven't got any notifications. So it was a bad one.
Yeah. Shout out to almost the very end. Well, the problem with it, I would say most folks are probably okay with that or seemingly okay with that because from a product perspective, the default is give me all the notifications. And as someone who designs apps for a living, you kind of want that to be the default, at least going in, where you're trying to explain the usefulness of whatever your application does. I can say, at least since we started recording, I have 2 notifications on my phone right now. How many do you have?
I have none, because I'm amazing. That's what there's no way to talk about this as if and not come off like I'm some sort of like
elitist, elitist notification elitist,
notification snob. Like, oh really?
Yeah.
You have a notification? I do badges for apps, but I don't do right. So the differentiation of like a notification being like it pops up whether the screen is locked or not, or whatever you're doing. You get a thing on the screen, either a drop down or a dialog box. You have to actually actively confirm. I do. Like even my Todoist app, I have it as badged, but not like notifying me when there's new stuff or whatever.
Sort of like silent in the background alerts to say, hey, there's something here that you probably want to take a look at, but I'm not going to verbally and or textually tell you what it is.
Right, because I guess I have enough of a screen OCD thing or whatever that if there's a badge icon, that's almost as good as basically a notification for me in terms of like, it bugs me that there's 2 Todoist things I'm resisting clicking to see what those are right now.
Yeah.
But
for me, I guess Android has introduced a completely different way of dealing with notifications for me. They don't have any app badges at the moment. On the current version of Android, there's no little red bubbles for me to take a look at, which is great. Makes my home screen look great all the time. I don't have to worry about it. So all of my notifications are managed, 1 through the lock screen and 2 through the pull down from the top, which is basically the same way that iOS does it. But in iOS, those can be persistent and not visible. The 2 notifications I actually have on my lock screen right now are ones from Untapped. It says there's a menu update. So we basically have this business service, which is the majority of what folks who probably would get this type of notification would be interacting with, where if a business is on our platform, they can send a menu update for they've added a new beer to their tap list, or they have there's a number of different types of notifications you can get for the app. But mine, oh hey, here you go. Okay, now I just got another one from Instagram. You did that on purpose.
I was just testing you.
So I've got the one from Untapped 8 minutes ago.
I'm just going to start sending you messages through various services and to see which ones you have on.
If you sent one on Skype right now and or Slack, it would wait a couple minutes and then it would send it to me.
Right.
I have no doubt at all. I got another one from MyFitnessPal saying, you haven't logged your lunch for today. Would you like to do that now? And then I got of course, the troll, the real sick burn troll from you mentioning me in a story, which is really good.
I'm surprised that one hasn't been abused more, to be honest. But anyway, sorry.
True. I mean, I've actually had that happen twice in the last 2 days. I had never had that happen to me before.
What's that? A story tagging? Or
a story mention,
yeah.
Basically, yeah. I would say that's probably a product of people just not using stories that are in my immediate vicinity either. There's a lot of options on Android now, especially with these particular notifications. As soon as I get one, I can say, hey, Instagram, show notifications silently from now on. So basically, it'll make no noise. It'll show up on my screen, but I will get no auditory or vibration alerts for the new information that they've sent me. It'll still send the notification, but I have a lot more options now on whether or not it should grab my attention immediately. And I just don't think most people put themselves in the mindset of like, I'm going to sit down for 25 minutes and create a workflowy bulleted items list of all the apps I have, whether or not they're important to me at the very moment, and then go through and make those changes to these separate applications. A lot of times too, it's not handled at the operating system level. It is happening in the app, and you've got to go in and turn all those off. So it's unfortunate that it's handled so many different ways, but I guess that's how they get apps to stick with people. And like, I haven't logged a meal in MyFitnessPal in 3 weeks, and I still get the notification 3 times a day. That's how bad that particular one is for me.
Yeah, it's amazing how much I know I do that too with apps where I do give them access because I think, oh, certainly, like, not, it wasn't FitnessPal, but some other one that's like that, fitness tracking, meal tracking kind of thing. I was like, well, of course I'm going to want to track all that stuff. That's why I got this app. And then like after 3 days, I'm like, ugh, that stupid notification, ding, make it go away. Comes back the next day. Don't like, and then finally, eventually I delete the app, but I put up with it for like way too long for as much as I talk about being, you know, careful about notification access for apps to my attention anyways. So one app that actually did this really well, it was Duolingo, the language learning app. For about 3 days, I was going to learn Spanish again. And
okay, all right, yeah.
Buenos noches, and
good night to you too.
But after, I think it's like 3 days, it just says, you know what? Looks like these things aren't working for you. We'll turn it off for now. Just come back and let us know. And if you start up the app again, then it'll trigger it to do it again for 2 or 3 days. Which I've never seen any other app do that. It's like like you said, every app is like terrified that you're going to forget about them, and so they want to just constantly remind you, yes, there's something new here, there's a thing here, come check this out. Instagram is like awful for like, please turn on your notifications, please, pretty please. You turn off the like, no, I don't want notifications thing, and clear that thing in your like history or activity feed, and then the next day it's back again saying, hey, by the way, do you want to maybe turn on your notifications?
It looks like they're off. Yeah, did you hit something on accident? I think.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and flip this switch for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You good with that?
So yeah, I credit like Duolingo. I have no idea how they make money. I guess probably you pay for like advanced learning or something or whatever of languages, but yeah, it's just like, nope, it's not working. Then no problem. We'll be here. You know.
Yeah, I mean, there's. Part of it is the mind share of like, okay, yeah, I know MyFitnessPal's on my screen. I know I should probably log my lunch, or I should probably at least go back in there and decide whether or not I'd like to keep doing this. And that will then turn me into a monthly active user because I open the application. You can tell when an application got a new product manager for a particular section, because it's a flood of notifications about that particular thing, and two, that all they're trying to do is just increase their daily active users and their monthly active users. There is typically no other reason behind that other than just bumping up the numbers a little bit. Like Twitter, I would say, probably is a repeat offender of something like that, where they're like, yeah, hey, by the way, we're going to change the way that you receive notifications for everything now. Just, we've gone ahead and opted you into that, just so you know it's cool. All right?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Like, done. So I don't know. Coming from that world, I understand why it's done that particular way.
Well, they got like quarterly reports and annual thingies, and yeah, I get that.
And you want to justify the fact that you exist in whatever application you're working for. So you want to make sure that it's, I don't know, both balancing usefulness for users and balancing business needs. And that makes sense. But from like a personal perspective, there's something about getting the same notification or getting the same types of notifications, especially for something like, yeah, I've decided that I want to be healthy. And so I downloaded this workout app, and it reminds me every day at 6 p.m. that I need to work out, and I just ignore it. And it's this little twinge that either I'm not accomplishing the goal that I want to do, or that I'm not performing at the level that I want myself to perform. The just like, I don't want to deal with it version of Kyle takes over and just swipes the notification away and says, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I don't know. Especially falling off the wagon. It's falling off the wagon of like, I was doing this for a little bit and now I'm not. And then I still get the notification for it. I've been like that for an app called Exist. And I think Merlin has talked about this one before.
Do you exist?
I kind of feel like I don't when I don't use it. But it's mainly because I was using it for a good 3 or 4, about 4.5 months.
Oh,
where every single day I would write down like a little synopsis of what did I do today, how do I feel, and then put it away. It took 15 seconds. It doesn't require much thought at all. It's not. It really, really wasn't that involved. But I recently went on a trip to Chicago. I stopped doing it because we were busy. We were just not. We weren't, at a place where I could write down in my phone. We were out and about, busy doing stuff. So I justify not writing in it. And then we get back from the trip, and I see the notification. This is a month ago. I see the notification, and I'm like, yeah, it's just not right now. And that thought, that continual, and I still get the notification. I haven't uninstalled the app. I haven't gone in and written down what's happened. Once I get off the train of like continually doing it or having it done every single day, like logging my meals, writing in the diary, the incentive to get back in the application to do that kind of thing is gone for me. And I don't know why. There's probably a psychological term for that.
Yeah, a bit of the like gamification thing, right?
Yeah, like completionism, gamification. Like as soon as I miss one little card from the deck, I no longer want to be a part of the game.
Right.
It's really detrimental, I think, to the way that I, as a designer, the way that I think about applications and user retention and stuff like that. But from a personal life perspective, it's probably really bad too. I would assume.
Bad all around.
Just bad all around, probably. Yeah.
There's some sort of like it takes 2 weeks to get it locked into a habit and probably like 5 minutes to lose it or something. I'm sure there's better ways of saying that, but I know with any sort of like guitar practicing, fitness thing, whatever, learning a new language or coding, a new coding language or some new discipline in life where you just like getting up at 6:30 every day or whatever it happens to be. And it takes so little, at least for me anyways. I admire folks who for them, this isn't an issue, but like it takes so little to push me off the whatever momentum I've built up. And obviously a notification from a fitness app or whatever language app or whatever it happens to be is not enough guilt to pull me back in once that initial sort of rush of I'm going to have a major life change by doing this sort of euphoria wears off. It's like,
yeah, well, a language app was the same for me. I was, an app called Memrise did something very similar. I was actually learning words in Japanese and learning to write characters and things like that. And I did it for like 2 or 3 months and then just didn't do it one evening because we were, again, like I'm trying to justify it, but I shouldn't be. Like I just didn't do it. And then it didn't stick after that. I would get the notification, and the notifications were real clever. Like that app in particular, I'm probably screenshotted a few. I'll see if I can find them in my Google Photos, but I screenshotted a few of them, and they're like, it's just like the Twitter account that is all screaming, constant screaming. It was kind of like that, where they're trying to change it up in a way that gets them noticed on my lock screen and either make me chuckle or like remember them for a second or something to get me back into the app. And they're trying real hard to the point where I noticed them so much that I deleted them.
They went they pushed it over.
A little over the edge, yeah.
Which that is almost like a whole, I mean, that's another discussion, I guess, but the marketing angle of notifications and the languaging and the messaging that you're using in there, I would guess a lot of app developers sort of see it as function, whereas something like this, Memrise or whatever, and, Slack would probably be similar too, where they put a lot of care and the crafting of those messages very carefully, knowing that that's like their potentially the last interaction they have with their user or the first one to sort of pull a user back into the app.
I'm sending you a couple here. As I said, I'm looking through my Google Photos right now. So interestingly, Android, I think, takes a different perspective on notifications than iOS does, especially for stuff like the lock screen. So the one I sent you is me watching YouTube TV, and they'll leverage the notifications section on my home screen and on the drop down for showing me what is playing on my TV right now. So it says broadcasting to the living room, and then it takes over the entire screen.
Right. That's what,
and yeah.
Coming from iOS, I'm like, why is your lock screen some guy, sports personality guy? I'm guessing. I can't.
Yes. He's a hockey guy, some sort of hockey guy. That's supposed to be like NHL Live or NHL Overtime or something ridiculous.
But yeah, it's the same. Okay. That makes more sense. So you can snooze it for 15 minutes? Is that what that means?
No, so this is a play bar, basically. It's a notification that I can't get rid of. And so I don't know. I guess there's no visual distinction other than play controls that this is something that you can't dismiss. They have two modes, though, kind of like iOS notifications have now, where you can swipe it and perform an action on it. So for something like this, I could pull it down and hit close and actually stop the playback of whatever's happening on my TV from the notification on my home screen, which is nice. Instead of saying like, hey Google's, please turn off the TV, that kind of stuff. I'm perusing a bit of my screen history here for notifications that are just way over the top. When I'm not home, here's one that I get a whole lot when I'm not home. We have a series of Nest cameras at home, and we have cats, as of course I have explained in previous episodes here.
Real and imaginary.
Yes. We only have one, so don't worry about it. But they like to move around when we're not home, and I have it set to where we get a push notification.
I know we've done a lot of the cat exploration, but you say, I just have to clarify, you have one, you said.
Yes,
but
sorry.
You refer to that one as they?
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yeah. They the cat, because I don't know what the gender identity of the cat is, so I don't want to step over bounds here about
Okay.
Whatever the cat would like to identify as, typically a human being, which is that's just how they are. They like to move around when I'm not home, and every time they do, and they're in the living room, I will get a push notification, or whenever they go to the food, I'll get another push notification for that. So it's kind of, there are points in time where we're not home and it's just a flood of notifications. So I made that one in particular silent. But it's still one of those things that I'm like, I can't do anything with this information. Yes, I guess I could be like, hey, the house is on fire. Someone who lives nearby, could you please go check it out? Or fire department, hi, this is Kyle.
It's Kyle
again. We have another fire.
Because that one's for security. Obviously, if it'd be like you can log in presumably and see what it's seeing, and then you can be like, oh no, it's just a cat, or oh, it's actually a burglar. Burglar? Is that sounds like a weird word for something?
No, burglar. Yeah. It sounds like burger.
It sounds like something in the 60s, like a burglar that you would have.
Yes.
A cop's and
it's
robber.
A real word.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, somebody's stealing your stuff. Hopefully not stealing your camera before you get a good glimpse of them. But
yeah, it depends. Even if I'm not, oh, here we go. I will share this one with you. This is a really good example of.
These will be in the show notes too. We'll put
memorize, and these I will. Yeah, I don't think there's any personally identifiable information here. But you can see sort of what Memrise tries to do, and they try to be real chummy about
nice,
it.
Yeah.
It says, I once ate 2 bowls of ice cream because, and then in all caps, I am an adult. And it's a language learning application. It has nothing to do with ice cream. I don't know why. I don't know why they would do this.
It's like taking it's so far out there that it's funny approach, I guess, right? And hoping that that's going to draw you back in. Makes you laugh, makes you have a good moment, and you're like, oh, yes, I should learn a new language. That made me chuckle.
Right.
I wonder what ice cream is like in Japanese or something.
Exactly. I do have a lot of these screens. Here's one more. This one says, memorize. Come over to keep your memories from turning into, and then a poop emoji.
That's clever.
I guess so.
That's on brand a bit, but it's funny because you could totally see someone like it's so hard to craft those things, and I'm sure you're very well aware of this, obviously, in working in this side of the fence, as it were, where you don't want to alienate, because you can see something like that totally alienating a person, thinking like, why are they joking about poop? Why is there poop in my notifications?
Right.
That's very unprofessional. I'm going to delete this app. But I guess it's, by the same token, it's kind of just like what we do with Good Stuff and podcasts, where you're like, this is who we are. We're going to be this way. If you don't like this kind of stuff, then maybe go check out Duolingo or whatever, because we're going to joke about.
It's not for you. It's obviously not for you if you don't understand our humor, I guess, or get in line with our political views. Or, I mean, it's totally their prerogative. They can do whatever they want. But yeah, it definitely can alienate some people, depending on the tone and the voice that you make your application have. It's an interesting business decision, I guess, from that perspective, just to be like, yeah, that's just who we are. It's just how it's going to be. And that's fine. I haven't seen them change that. It was real strong for a little bit, which is kind of why I was like, I just can't handle this. They're talking about ice cream. They're sending me poop emoji. Like, this is just not the racket I want to be in. So I did delete it, not necessarily for that reason, but for the mental load that it was creating, because it did look like a message from someone. Like, maybe it says "Mom rise," or I don't know. I don't know what it. Yeah. It just looked like someone had sent me a message.
Yeah, that's where I think it feels a bit like some of the bigger apps, especially, are on notification overload. Like you said earlier, with Twitter trying to get you back into stuff. Facebook is notorious for doing this too. Like, they allow you to check off, I don't want a message about when somebody likes something I've posted, right? But then they reword it to like, well, their friend liked it, and so now do you want those notifications or whatever? And just like finding a different legalese way of figuring out how to add a new notification that they don't have to legally say they already asked you about. And I have no idea what the laws are. If it's probably not as bad as, it's not as strict as email spam and stuff has gotten, but you can see a future where it's going to be, I guess, because apps just tend to, Twitter does the same thing where like I remember signing up for Twitter and having there be like a checkbox that just said, do you want us to notify you via email when someone likes or does anything to you or your tweets, right? And now there's like, I appreciate the granularity, but they add new ones all the time where it's like 30 checkboxes to not get notified about stuff on Twitter when you sign up for a new account.
And you do have to go like that. Like I said earlier, it's all defaulted to be on usually on every platform, email, app, everything. Send all the stuff so that we get engagement. We get some sort of usefulness out of not only you signing up and you giving us your email, but for being there, for getting your eyeballs into our app. It's what we need. Speaking of eyeballs, here's one more for you, just real quick. This was from this morning. The placement was too good.
That's nice
for me not to. We may have to just make that one like the album artwork for this episode. Yeah, just write that. I will say, if you don't go and look at it, it is a picture of Captain Picard. His entire face is filling up my lock screen on my phone, but the notification for Star Trek: The Next Generation being casted to my TV is directly over his eyes. So he's sort of got this like anonymous Captain Picard look. I know who he is.
What's the guy?
Almost Rainbow. Like a Geordie LaForge look. Yeah. I feel like I'm a real bad offender of the whole notification thing.
Right.
And yet I still don't call me. Don't ever call me. I don't want to hear your voice. I just want to see your notifications, your text.
I will. That's exactly it. I will. If you email me, a client can email me. A client who would be potentially giving me a $15,000 job, contract or whatever for work, could phone me, leave a voicemail and say, "Hey Chris, ready to go. Just give me a call back. Just need to talk through some of the details, but I'm like 110%. I'm going to give you $5,000 more for this project just because." All of those things could be on the voicemail, and I would still take 2 days to respond. Whereas if they email me and say, "Look, I've got $3,000 less than I promised, but I'm hoping we can still work this thing out. Reply, when you can." Probably 5-10 minutes, I'll respond.
Yeah, you're already fingers are already on the keyboard. Yeah. There's an if this and that for that one. Exactly. Yeah, that I understand. I get that. I don't know what it is, especially from two people who pretty much talk for a living.
Right. I know.
Who it's what we do. We're talking to each other right now.
Yeah.
But it takes that slippery slope of, okay, I'm just going to do it. And then, oh yeah, this isn't that bad. This isn't that hard. I
get the other way I get is I phone call to make sure they got my email, or I got their email. I get a few of those, or, hey, I'm going to email you some details. Is that okay? This is what they're about. And it's like, well, you could just type that. That actually would work too. That's okay. But I get that. I don't know. There's a bit of the old school mentality of there's a delivery coming in 3 weeks. You need to make sure you get it kind of idea. That happens, I think, for some folks in their brain when they're writing an email. But I generally consider email to be reliable and, a safe way to communicate. Yeah. I forget where I was going with that, but the social contract, social stress of not knowing that the other person is going to be okay with me phoning them at 10 o'clock, even though it's a business that readily accepts phone calls.
Yeah.
Is kind of a silly stress that I put on myself for some reason.
Or just a real, like you said, a silly one, like calling to make an appointment for something, or seeing if a restaurant is open instead of driving your entire family over there and then getting there and saying, oh, wait, no, sorry, they close in half an hour. And not only did I not want to call them, but the second part of this is that I'm not going to bring you guys in there, even though I know the kitchen is open and I know on their sign it says they're open. There's only half an hour left, and that's not enough time for us to get in and get out before they actually do the whole closing thing. There's far too much involved in that whole thing to make me not anxious about the situation.
Well, I've had Captain Picard staring at me now for 15 minutes. All right, Kyle, tell me about PlayerUnknown. We've got a few minutes.
Boy, I don't know anything about it. I have been watching a couple of game streams for a bit. It's on Steam. I do know that. It's in, what do they call pre-access? Not pre-access.
Yeah, beta or something.
Early access?
Yeah,
there you go. It's in early access right now. It does cost money, even though it's in early access, and it looks glitchy as heck. But basically the idea is you get, I think, 100 people or so, 96 people maybe, and you all get into an airplane, and you have the option of either teaming up with people if you'd like to, or going solo. You then jump out of the airplane onto an island and try to kill each other. While you try to kill each other, the interesting bit, I think, the whole gaming dynamic, other than obviously murdering everyone, is that there is a barrier that will close around you as the game progresses. So it basically makes the gaming field get smaller and smaller and smaller over time, forcing the people who are left to kind of come into contact with each other and combat each other.
Right. Yeah. That it's funny because those two premises right there, just because otherwise it's basically no different than I would imagine what modern Call of Duty, whatever, where you're running around shooting each other.
Yeah. Counter-Strike, Call of Duty,
but
those games.
The fact that it's kind of sets this neat premise of you're on the plane together, you're getting dropped kind of like for a reality TV show or whatever of the future or near future, and having to fight it out, Hunger Games style, but then also having the world close in on you while it's happening is a brilliant little extra tick. That's probably, I'm sure that hardcore video game nerds, it's been used elsewhere or whatever, but I know there's a Minecraft mod that was like that, sort of in reverse, where as you added things, the world would get bigger every so often or whatever. But yeah, this is
interesting.
It's kind of a neat one I've seen too. It's funny how some indie games just kind of make enough noise to even bubble over into I would guess you're like me and sort of a average gamer, hobby gamer, not hardcore playing every night.
Most definitely. Yeah. And, well, I think I used to be a part of that whole idea. Especially when they had things called, I guess they would be called LAN shops, or places where it was just computer after computer after computer lined up next to each other.
Yeah, right.
And you could go there knowing that the machines could handle the games that were out and what you wanted to play. Because back home, that might not have been the case, and you didn't want to invest $3,000 into a machine or a new video card or whatever. Especially if it was the family's computer. You don't want to spend all your time on there. So you could go pay like $2 an hour, sign in to your character from that computer, take your friends over there, play games, we would play Unreal Tournament 2K4. So that tells you what year I was playing.
Yeah.
But for $2 an hour, you could go do that. And this was around the same time too, where the things like energy drinks were really taking off. And so just that entire culture of Red Bull and esports and computer hardware and getting a job, like getting into the last years of high school for me, getting a job and realizing that we could go have $2 Jack in the Box tacos and go play games at the LAN shop for $2 an hour and spend 4 hours there and then drive ourselves home. It's just that switch that flipped over from like, oh yeah, I got to call my parents from the payphone to go pick me up from the movies, to I'm driving myself. I have a Nokia 3390 or whatever, and we're going to play video games at a store dedicated to that. I think it's a vape store now, which is thoroughly ironic, but it's so of the time that I was growing up. And this most definitely PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds would have been one that we would have played there.
Yeah, that style.
So I'm thinking about thinking about picking that up and at least trying it. I would, like you mentioned in our private conversation, it seems like something that would be great with other people. Be great to play with friends. I've heard good things about playing it on your own, but yeah, it seems like a nice. Not really relaxing. Watching streams is very, 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 very nerve-wracking because it's all about like the binaural audio and seeing whether it's on the left or the right or where did it come from, where are they shooting me from.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it seems like a really tense game. So unless if your house is not quiet, maybe it's not a great game to play. Not one of those real quick shoot 'em up games. Normal games seem to last anywhere between like 10 to 30 minutes each, and then you can just, if you get killed, you bounce out of the game and start a new one.
Yeah, that's what I think. I was like playing it with someone else where you'd know that at least you have one teammate or whatever within the game or whatever, and sort of discovering each other that way. Would be kind of fun. And I think particularly the hilarity of like getting into it enough that you're legit freaking out when you get found or whatever, and that kind of stuff, where usually I tend to, that's what makes, for anybody who's never watched like a streaming person on Twitch or whatever playing a game and thinks that's like not nuts. It's, well, it probably is, but like there is a certain amount of fun of like seeing what they're seeing on their console or their computer or whatever, and watching their reaction to it and things like that. Like that's a whole nother show of subculture of video game streaming and stuff that I find fascinating. But yeah, there's the fact that I did a Google search for PlayerUnknown, and like one of the top hits is a businessinsider.com 30 tips and tricks that could help you survive in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So,
wow, on Business Insider?
Yeah, posted 9 hours ago. So it obviously somehow is bubbling over into,
permeating into the normal culture. Yeah. It sounds like very interesting.
Apparently you can where was this tip I was going to share with you? If you do, so you have a Windows computer?
I do now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's my Achilles heel, as it were, in gaming. I have an Xbox, but not a Windows machine. Frying pans can act as armor on your butt, apparently. So just FYI, there's a gif of a guy
noted
getting shot in the frying pan that's hanging off the back of his backpack.
Oh, hey. That sounds pretty well. I think that's a good spot to end it, man. Yeah. Getting shot in the butt with a frying pan. Colonel Mustard? Is that?
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
Probably not a. I don't think there's a Clue crossover for that, but that sounds like it would be fun. Would be fun. Sounds like a good game.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Chris.